Everything Everywhere All at Once is truly a you-have-to-see-it-to-believe-it kind of film. It features many unpredictable twists in its multiverse plotline, which is also infused with meaningful life lessons and occasionally even literal food for thought. But before I get further into reviewing this curious film, please consider subscribing and switching on notifications, as it really helps us out. And if you're feeling generous, give us a like as well, as that tells YouTube that this video is worth showing to others. To understand Everything Everywhere All at Once, we first have to look at the previous work of the directors Daniel Kwan and Daniel Scheinert, who call themselves the Daniels. Their first feature film, Swiss Army Man, in which a man stranded on an island befriends a dead body, was nominated for the Grand Jury Prize and won the Directing Award at the esteemed Sundance Film Festival. If you've seen that film, you'll know it's completely bonkers, but somehow, despite its complete lack of realism, Swiss Army Man speaks volumes of truth on the topics of purpose, survival, physical and emotional growth, and relationships. It purposefully draws attention to normal but slightly taboo bodily features such as farts, without judgment or discomfort, encouraging its audience to feel more comfortable about their own bodies. Though Everything Everywhere is not nearly as gross as Swiss Army Man, it does prominently feature humor relating to the humble bottom, which continues throughout the storyline. In other directors' hands, these references would feel cheap and childish, but the ability of the Daniels to mix the silly with the serious creates a wonderful juxtaposition that makes the inconceivable parts of their stories that bit more relatable. In Everything Everywhere, these inconceivable parts relate to the multiverse, which is a hot-ticket topic in cinema currently, primarily because of its presence in the MCU, where it features prominently in films such as Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Before becoming so mainstream, there were some multiverse films that would occasionally pop up, such as Source Code, Coherence, and The One, starring Jet Li. But the idea of multiple universes existing features prominently in many time travel films, such as Looper, The Cloverfield Paradox, and Interstellar. With that in mind, Everything Everywhere is one of those few pure multiverse films, because Evelyn Wang and her cohorts do not travel through time. Instead, they are able to occupy the minds of other versions of themselves living in other universes in order to learn new skills. Though if you check out my video called The Multiverse Explained, linked above or in the description below, I do go into how every cinematic presentation of the multiverse is not actually that accurate. Anyway, back to Everything Everywhere, in which the multiverse is where the silly side of the film lies, whilst the serious side relates to our Evelyn's normal life, the problems she has with taxes, relating to her laundromat business, and the family problems, being on the verge of a divorce and unable to connect with her daughter or appease her own father, who is visiting from China at a particularly stressful time in her life. The silly side makes the film an absolute treat, with many great comedic moments both from the physical stunts and from well-written dialogue. However, for me, the serious side lacked depth, leaving much of the conflict bubbling under the surface and the audience left to draw what they can from the clunky resolutions at the end. I think this is partly due to the scale of the film compared to Swiss Army Man, which only had two characters to focus on, with one being more of a subconscious extension of the other. Indeed, a superbly clever way of presenting a Castaway style of story, but with more dialogue and action. In Everything Everywhere, much of Evelyn's character arc was interrupted by the other characters, even the smaller ones such as the security guards, who were all given plenty of screen time so that we'd get to know their quirks, ready for the final fight sequence. Whilst I did enjoy the ensemble, I still wish I had more time with Evelyn, played beautifully by Michelle Yeoh, who shows incredible range with her performances of the different versions of her character. For me, it was the conversations between the various Evelyns and Waymans that struck me the most in terms of an emotional journey. Yes, I won't ever be able to forget that hot dog dance seduction scene between Evelyn and the ever-delightful Deirdre, but it's definitely Wayman's part in this Evelyn's life that I feel was the core of the film, and I wanted to see more of it. Ironically, Evelyn is told to remember to breathe quite early on in the film, but it felt like the Daniels were so concerned with putting their audience through everything everywhere all at once that they really only gave her a little bit of time at the start and the end of the film to actually breathe as a character. Interestingly, this is not the first time that the Daniels have explored the multiverse. They previously made an interactive short film called Possibilia, in which a couple discuss breaking up within the multiverse, with various versions of the same conversation being shown. It is a very inventive piece of filmmaking, and you can definitely spot the roots of Everything Everywhere's multiverse within it. But just like Swiss Army Man, its strength lies in how it focuses on just two characters. In terms of supporting performances, Stephanie Hsu was surprisingly disturbing as Jobu Tupaki, even while sporting an Elvis-style jumpsuit. There's something about having a young Gen Z villain that shows a complete indifference to others that was very effective, especially in the way they built upon normal teenage insecurities. Ke-Huy Quan as Waymond is delightful and a very clever casting choice, because his unique voice is so connected to his character in The Goonies that I found it quite difficult to take him seriously, but that only amplified character traits that he had in this film. However, there's no denying that Jamie Lee Curtis absolutely stole the show every time she was in a scene. Honestly, I don't think there's any genre of film that that woman cannot act in. I loved every detail of Deirdre, who is wonderfully dislikable, and I was totally lost in her performance. The cinematography was fun to watch, with a clear playfulness to the action sequences and very clever nods to other films such as In the Mood for Love, 2001's Space Odyssey, and The Matrix, as well as classic martial arts films. I think the editing perfectly matched the energy of the film. It was very well paced, with every strange twist given enough time to settle in before moving on, which was particularly crucial considering the often outrageous new information that we were being fed throughout. I will say that the score was sometimes a little overwhelming, though if you consider that one of the themes of this film is to show how overwhelming modern life can be, then having this maximalist score to help the audience have that feeling physically is very smart. Overall, Everything Everywhere All at Once is an unforgettable addition to the multiverse subgenre. It deals in juxtapositions both big and small to deliver its apocalyptic spectacle, triggered by a normal family feud which grounds the action in emotions that we can all understand. Thank you for watching. Please like this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe and switch on notifications so you don't miss future videos, and comment below with your thoughts on the film. Which particular bizarre image do you have ingrained in your mind after watching this? For more film content, feel free to follow us on Twitter, Letterboxd and TikTok. Links in the description. Otherwise, this has been Tea Break Film Reviews. My name's Michelle, and I hope you have a great day.